Bases dropped on a Friday. We've made it to the end of another week of the Monday through Friday variety. John here, you there. Jarrett coming up in a sec because we got a lot of stuff to talk about here over the next couple hours. It is our last in session of the year at noon Eastern across the network, and we're going to go over everything that's happened to date, get you prepped for what's going to happen tonight with Jason and Justin. Jason will be drifting in. Jarrett is coming in just a sec to talk about what has happened. But 7A is tonight, and we'll have a bit of a preview of in session. Judson Hamby is going to talk about Oconee County soccer at 10:30 because he's a state champ. He's got a program that's a state champ. We'll catch up with him as he's heading to an ECNL event. And so literally this was like the only time we could grab him. We couldn't grab him at noon, so we're going to grab him at 10:30. And wasting no time because of everything else, we're going to bring in Jarrett to talk about Soccer's in Session, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente at KP Georgia across all of the 280 character apps. You had it busy with 6A with Roswell and Marist and Sprayberry and River Ridge. So you had your set of adventures, sir.
Buddy, you ain't lying. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the women's game early?
Yeah,
or
let's go temporally and go forward.
Okay, so we'll start with the women's game?
Yeah, start with the girls' game and go forward.
Okay, yeah, so 5 p.m. we had Roswell and Marist, which was a rematch from last year's title game, two of the top teams in the country.
Yep.
And a Marist team that really didn't give up goals this year, then got a penalty early in the game, proceeded to put said penalty away, and Justin and I were sitting there thinking like, oh man, this is playing perfectly for Marist. They've got the early goal from the spot. Now they can just kind of lock this down and put it in a stranglehold. No, there were 5 goals in the first half. We were wrong. There were 5 goals in the first half. I think the one that stood out to us most clearly was the performance of Rachel Pfeiffer, who's a junior at Roswell, who had 2 goals and an assist in that first half for Roswell, as they did everything short of, winning the game. Had an absolute golazo from outside the box, then chipped the keeper in a really weird finish for her second goal, then played a nice little 1-2. Really good performance from her. Marist got kind of over their skis, got out of their style, kept trying to play the ball long and rushing everything, and then in the final 2 minutes, they get a very good free kick location that was possibly dubious. Don't know if it was a free kick. Whistle's never blown. Like, the ref doesn't stop play. So Roswell crowds the ref. Then they just start marching back to their 10-yard spot, and the ref never stops play. And the Marist attacker, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Mary Margaret Fligg, quickly takes the free kick. I have no idea how Roswell's keeper got to it, but she gets across her box after she'd been lining up the wall to make an amazing save. But then it's turned back in. Hannah Faclaris turns it in with like 70 seconds left to send it to extra time. And then Faclaris, who was cramping up, they are all cramping up at this point. They're all actively dying because, it's 80-something degrees. It's hot out. So,
it's turf.
Yeah. Faclaris is had to come out twice just because her body is breaking down a bit.
Oh man!
And then she scores a bomb from 25 yards where she just drops it over the keeper and under the bar. Marist wins the title. They get revenge on Roswell for last year, and just a blackout drunk affair where we were just thinking hey, Marist is going to be able to put this thing on a stranglehold. Oh no, they're not. Rachel Pfeiffer was an absolute demon for Roswell and did everything deserving of having won a title. She'll be one to keep an eye on next year because, my God, she's fast. She Iron Man'd that thing, too. She didn't come out in the second half.
Oh, wow.
I don't think. And then she did not come out in the extra time either. I don't know how she had legs left. And I think her brain was starting to go first. Like, she was still able to run, but she just seemed exhausted by the end of it, man. The first touch was letting her down. Yeah. Anyway, it was drunk. It was a beautiful drunken affair. highly, highly recommended for everyone involved.
Yes.
If you want another one to watch for Roswell, is Maya Masawa, who scored one of the goals for them. A midfielder who was kind of sitting a little bit deeper and then just started like bombing forward and was really dangerous, really tiny but very quick and much stronger than she looked. Yeah, man, that Marist team is older. You had a lot of upperclassmen, but hey, for them that was some really good revenge, and you won't say no to that.
Nope. And then you go from that to an equal bit of wobbly posture with Sprayberry and River Ridge. And see, this is what happens. So Jarrett says what he says about the girls' game. And then as he's trying to navigate heading into actual employ, he gets bumped off because I don't know.
Kicked me out. It
I
doesn't
don't know.
want me to talk about this.
I was going to say, I don't know what you were thinking, but somebody was like, this cannot be said publicly. So you got bumped out.
Oh, my God.
Sprayberry and River Ridge, the number one of the top teams in the country, not just in the state. And this one was equal to the task of the first one.
At halftime, Justin Hanover and I took off our headsets, and Justin looked at me and said, "This is the most physical game I remember seeing in a very, very long time."
Yeah.
Sprayberry almost scored 12 seconds into the game. Like River Ridge took the kickoff, they played it back. One of the left wingers from Sprayberry just went full Leroy Jenkins and just like diving, jumping, missile drop kick slide tackle to get the ball away. One of their strikers got on it and almost got it near post. Then it came back for a foul, but 12 seconds in, that just set the tone. I mean, it was shoulder to shoulder, back to back fighting. Every single ball was contested. It was played at such a high pace for so long that I don't know how guys were able to manage it. And then you get the weirdest sequence I think I've ever seen. And I'm gonna need Justin to explain this to Jason later when he sees him for the 7A game,
right?
Because I want him to explain it to Jason as well. So there's a corner kick for Sprayberry. Ball's played in. It's kind of a loose ball in the box. River Ridge's goalkeeper, Van Gilder, falls on it. He is then, from what we can tell, and keep in mind, we're at McEachern. If you've never been to McEachern High School,
oh my God,
the press box is somewhere between, like, I don't know,
Commerce City, Colorado, and Neptune.
Yeah, it's up there at like Kilimanjaro height. There are birds flying below you.
Yes, that is true.
What looks like, from what we can tell, one of the Sprayberry players kicked at the shin of the River Ridge goalkeeper, and then as he's on the ground, and then the River Ridge goalkeeper decided to drop a modified people's elbow, and he just dead weights on top of the guy, and the ref immediately goes back pocket. Did not hesitate.
Oh boy.
So then Sprayberry's standing at the spot thinking, we're getting a penalty out of this too. Also, before this, Sprayberry had a penalty that was saved by Van Gilder, who made an outstanding save. I'm bearing the lead with that. So as the keeper goes off, the ref's talking to AR. The ref walks over to the keeper where he is, pulls out a yellow card. Now, Justin and I and the crew all think he just rescinded this red because he stood right in front of that goalkeeper and pulled out a yellow. We're like, did he just rescind the red? So they're gonna be okay here. And they put the backup keeper in. The starting goalkeeper was just sitting on the bench and just looking frustrated. It took about 5 or 10 minutes before I started counting and realized, no, he gave another yellow to one of the coaches, and that red stood. It was not communicated very well at all to anyone in the building what had happened. In the span of all of this, River Ridge proceeded to score 3 goals down a man because River Ridge might just be Thanos level inevitable.
They're crazy.
That was one of the most demoralizing performances I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Dude. So also Van Gilder's younger brother. There's 2 Van Gilders out there. The younger brother proceeded to get an orange card right before halftime. Like, it was a yellow. but it was like one of the many like running jumping tackles where he got there a little bit late,
Yeah.
and I think the studs were down, and that's the only reason he wasn't sent off. But you have a goal from Almeida. McClure scores as well McClure scores the opener for River Ridge because Paul Manwaring is just an absolute monster on the wing.
Preston Manwaring.
Preston Manwaring, excuse me, I had the name wrong. Preston Manwaring beats a double team by himself while down a man, plays it over to McClure. McClure puts it away. One of the guys we had talked about, John, was Kingston Courts.
Yes.
15 goals, 8 assists. Kingston Courts' last touch of his high school career. So it's 2-0 at this point. River Ridge also hit the post 3 times. Sprayberry hit the post 2 or 3 times on their own. This game was absolutely batshit. But at the very end, River Ridge gets a 2-on-2. Breaking the other way. They hold up to Sprayberry's pressure really well. River Ridge was just really well structured. It was not even their goal scoring. Just they were so disciplined. And anything that Sprayberry created was a matter of Sprayberry creating it because they're not a bad team. They're really damn good. They're not in the final by accident.
Mm-hmm.
They created opportunities. It wasn't so much River Ridge made mistakes. Sprayberry forced themselves into the situations, plus being up a man.
Yes.
They get a 2-on-2, and Kingston Courts passes up the through ball to play his teammate through just so he can score from 35 yards out.
That's an absolute banger!
Yeah. I just kind of sat there with my hands on my head because I didn't know what else to do. That ball didn't get 5 feet off the ground, and it was just a frozen rope into the bottom corner. As the last touch of his high school career is just 30, 35 yard absolute piss missile. And yeah, man, we were talking on the broadcast.
Oh boy.
It's a coronation for River Ridge, man. Yeah. When you talk about what that program was to what they are now, last night was their coronation, especially considering they went down a man 20 minutes into the game, and it didn't matter.
Yeah, I'll be cool. Yeah, we're all right.
That was one of the things I think Justin and I were talking about afterwards was we didn't realize they were down a man because they didn't play like it.
Yeah.
Kingston Courts came off for an extended period of time, and you put McClure on there. McClure was doing more of the back pressing and chasing. But you were down a man, and you didn't look like the team that was down a man.
No.
They weathered the storm so professionally of Sprayberry that Sprayberry was able to put pressure on them. But man, it was incredibly drunk, and everyone should be aware of that much alcohol being in their system. Shout out as well to all 4 student bodies. We had an outstanding turnout for those games. I mean, the turnout was absolutely wonderful, better than a lot of high school playoff games I've ever been to.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to see how things have evolved so far during this week. Today we got the 7As. Justin and Jason are going to be taking care of that one. Girls side, Buford and West Forsyth. Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain did not have that one on the bingo card on the boys' side in 7A.
No, and you want the hot take? I can give you the hot take.
Go for it.
As I think Justin said it last night as we were getting off air. He said you take that 6A River Ridge team. So I would put them up against any 7A team in the state.
Sure.
And I would love to see that 6A River Ridge team go play either one of these teams because this is kind of got a couple Cinderella stories here going with Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain.
Yep. I'm looking forward to the day when we are financially viable enough where we can have a Campeón de Campeones tournament to kick off the season. That would be fun. I'm looking forward to that day.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun, especially with what some of these teams are bringing back. Because when you look at the rosters, a number of these teams had key players that are going to be coming back.
Yeah, I mean, McIntosh loses 17, and then they come back and they win a title over Decatur yesterday, who made it all the way through as a 4 seed.
Mm-hmm. It's and the fun part was one of the people in the box was telling us that there were about 6 players, 3 on Sprayberry, 3 on River Ridge, that play together in club.
Mm-hmm.
He said, there is a matter of like familiarity breeding contempt here.
Oh yeah.
Where these guys, the coaches had been telling him, said, yeah, these guys one up each other constantly every time they play, even in practice. So them playing against each other for a title, it was so chippy and so physical.
But so fun to call.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know if you could have kept, if other teams really could have kept up with just the raw energy both of those teams were playing with. It was a lot, man. It was exhausting.
And you get to get back into the real world and try to suffer through your exhaustion, because tonight, 7 o'clock, I believe, at Silverbacks Park, it is the unveiling of the NPSL season.
Yeah, home opener for Apotheos. They're 0-1 after a 2-0 loss last week on the road. It's a chance for them to put the foot forward and see what they can put together. It'll be interesting to see what this looks like. We saw them last in the Open Cup against the Chattanooga Red Wolves, and it looked like a team that has some really good ideas but didn't have the chemistry yet. And the more games they get under the belt, I think the more fun they will be. We'll see what it looks like.
Yep. All right, so we will see you tonight, and if you can drift into hour number 2, please drift into hour number 2, because I know that you actually have the real world to intervene right now.
I will be trying to.
Okay. Yeah, so I think Jason might be dropping by in the 10 o'clock. Judson Hamby, I think, is dropping by at 10:30 to talk Oconee County soccer. So that's hour number 2. We'll drift in and drift out, but yeah, come on in as he does his Irish goodbye. All right, so morning Dell. Dell wants to know who's coming to Charleston. We don't know yet. Broadcast plan, obviously, Mike and Jason will be there. Just don't know the extent of everybody else who's coming, but I imagine it'll be a party. Morning, Alex. Morning, David. And, yeah, it did sound like an Ibarra, Jose Martinez 1v1. ATLUTD. So since we are in session, I'm trying to think. Was ATLUTD 6A or 5A? I can't remember. I think ATLUTD I think, lost on the girls' side in round 1, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm scanning the bracket. I know that makes for incredibly compelling radio and audio for those who are hanging out with us this morning. But 5A. I think ATLUTD lost in round 1 of the playoffs, because I thought I remembered seeing I think they came in as a 4 seed in whichever program made it into the postseason. Yeah. Actually, don't know about the boys, but the girls came in. They won Region 6 in 6A, but they lost to Johns Creek in the first round. So Johns Creek came in as a 4 seed out of Region 7 and made it all the way to the semifinals out of the right-hand side of the bracket. And so Johns Creek beat ATLUTD's girls 4-0 in round 1. So ATLUTD won Region 6 in 6A and did not get out of round number 1. Boys, I do not believe made the postseason. Let me double-check this real quick and see. Let's see. No, nothing there. Boys did not make the postseason. So the girls made the postseason. They won Region 6 and lost in round number 1. So that's kind of opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. We decided to invest it in a bit of a tease for in session because, like I said, we're going to have Judson Hamby coming in at 10:30 to talk about Oconee County and their championship, noon Eastern. I think we're going to have Coach Torres coming in to talk about Columbus's title and what it means for him to win his last match as a head coach at Columbus, and the staff's kind of breaking up a little bit. The band's getting separated after this season, but so we're going to catch up with Coach Torres at noon. I think Jason might be joining us as well toward the tail end of the hour, but that'll be our last Soccer's in Session live coming up at noon Eastern here on the network. And since that was opening kickoff, that was brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code as I cover up the Advance Alliance Nurse Corps QR code, so you're not hitting 2 QR codes at the same time. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching on the YouTubes, the Twitch, or on the 280-character app. You hit that QR code from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You get into take a peek at what Kickoff Coffee is up to. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Housekeeping, there is the Marshall Islands scarf, and the proceeds go to help the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. You can do it one of two ways. You can go through the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation website, and then if you end up paying for shipping, I can either drop it by or deliver it on this side of the Atlantic, or you can consider it a donation like some others have, and I can just deliver it to you. If you're within the SDH footprint, you want to see me or Abby and have the Abstermobile deliver it to you, you can do that too. And that's 32 plus 5 if you want me to send it to you through the Postal Service. So 32 or 37. The form is on the Discord for those of you that are on the Discord, or you can go through the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation website. They even have an app for us Android folks. But now that is to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, and that is to help them build from the ground up. I'm looking forward to seeing the last nation without a national soccer team get a national soccer team. They came to Northwest Arkansas a couple months ago, coming back during the American football season. So really looking forward to seeing how things continue to grow. But you can do your part by buying the jersey, buying the bucket hat, which I imagine folks have done, because that jersey is pretty stinking sweet. That's the jersey. But we decided to do the companion scarf to go with, and there it is. And that's our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. So either go through the Discord, fill out the form, DM me, DM the show, email the show, or just wave at me and, text or something, and we can get something figured out. I've sent scarves to California, to Hudson out in Colorado, to Alabama, to Texas, and we are helping out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation by doing that right there to help them build from ground zero. And it's fun to catch up with the stories that they continue to tell us as they continue to grow. So that is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and at kickoffcoffeeco.com. And it'll be fun to see how things continue to grow. Looks like Greg Garza is going to be joining us for a Friday Free Kick. And he says he's running a little late. So I think in Greg Garza, that means 2 minutes. So we'll see what's going on. But just to give you the rundown of what has happened so far since we are in high school and talking in session. Your boys champs so far, for those who haven't had the chance to see. Atlanta International beat Paideia to get the title in Class A D1 boys. Class A Division II, it was GMC, Georgia Military, over Atkinson County. Great season by everybody down there in Pearson, not just on the boys' side, but the boys and the girls. AA boys. Toombs County beat Model. If you missed it yesterday, we caught up with head coach Jeremy Moore, who had virtually no sleep and made it to campus. And so we caught up with Coach Moore during the noon hour and kept him on long enough to where he didn't have to do any more classes. He went right to lunch and planning, and he was done for the day. But Toombs County beat Model 2-0, 2 goals in the first half, and a great bunch of seniors. And so a title goes to Lions. Toombs County beats Model and AA boys. AAA boys. It was a Columbus over Hebron Christian, 2-1. Like I said, we'll catch up with head coach Ray Torres leading off at noon Eastern on Soccer's in Session, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. We'll find out what it was like to win that one for Columbus. Quad A boys. It was a Westminster over Johnson Gainesville. Kept Johnson Gainesville's offense in check for the full 80 minutes. Westminster scored 1 in the first, 1 in the second. 15th title for Westminster. They won it 2-0 over Johnson Gainesville. 5A boys, once again, Jarrett was for the 6A boys, but McIntosh beat Decatur in front of Jason and Jess yesterday. And so McIntosh over Decatur. McIntosh wins again for another state championship. It was great to catch up with Brian Messer leading into that matchup. Very physical match with McIntosh and Decatur. And when Jason pops in, we'll catch up with him and find out about McIntosh and Decatur. McIntosh beat Decatur 2-1. Decatur made it all the way to the final as a 4 seed. 6A, it was River Ridge over Sprayberry 3-0. You got to hear Jarrett talk about that one. Later today, 7:30, or a half hour after the completion of the girls' side at Duluth High School, Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain did not have either of these two teams in. The region champ out of Region 2 and the number 2 team out of Region 5 have made it through the brackets. 7:30 or a half hour after the last match, or the girls' match at Duluth tonight. That'll be the last match for your soccer championships on the boys' side. Girls' side, going all the way down to the bottom. Class A Division 1, Paideia, no problem with Social Circle. Paideia wins that one by the final of 8-1. Peyton Brooks, keep an eye on Peyton Brooks. 54 goals, north of 25 assists, heading to Truett McConnell. So she's going to be in the NAIA in Cleveland, Georgia. Go see Peyton Brooks at the next level. Fantastic talent here in the state of Georgia. Class A D2 girls, it was Aquinas avenging their loss to Lake Oconee Academy earlier in the year. So Aquinas beats Lake Oconee Academy 2-1. They're the state champs in Class A D2 girls. Double A girls, it was Fellowship Christian shutting out Mount Perrin by the final of 5-0. Triple A girls, it was Oconee County over Wesleyan 2-1. And like I said, we'll find out about it at 10:30 when Judson Hamby drops by, the head coach at Oconee County. We'll find out how Oconee County ended up being a state champ. We'll find out from him how it went down 2 days ago. It was Wednesday at 5 o'clock at McEachern. We'll find out about that one. Quad A girls, it was Lovett over North Oconee 3-2. Jason got to talk about that one yesterday, and that one was at Duluth High School. So Lovett's a state champ in 4A. 5A girls, it was a GAC in penalties over Cambridge. We'll talk to Jason about that. 6A girls, Marist over Roswell 4-3 in the matchup that Jarrett got to talk about. And so 7A girls is today, and that kicks off at 5 o'clock at Duluth High School. Buford and West Forsyth, 1 versus 2 in the state of Georgia. And Jason and Justin will be there for that one. As promised, 9:32. See, I said, when Greg said he might be a little late, I said 2 minutes. I was right on. I know Garza Standard Time. I figured it out after all this time that we've spent together, and that means it's that time to catch up with Greg and our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring. After all this time hanging out together, brother, I figured it out. You say I'm running a little late. That's 2 minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Before we get into my first topic, and it has to do with advice as a mentor and your time as a mentee. What's the latest with the Beyond Goals? What's going on these days? I know that the soccer season, as we're talking about, is in its championships here in the state of Georgia, but that does not mean that you guys stop doing what you're doing. Where are things right now, and what are you guys up to?
Yeah, same old. Still trying to continuously grow. Is Campbell High School for 7A boys in the final?
Campbell is 7A boys in the final.
We'll take credit for that.
There you go. Yeah, Campbell knocked off Archer in the semifinal. They're playing Kennesaw Mountain tonight at Duluth at 7:30 against Kennesaw Mountain. So that's your final at 7A.
Yeah, we'll take credit for Campbell winning the whole thing tonight.
There you go. That's absolutely awesome. And it's not just you guys don't just do it with you guys don't just give advice with high school teams during high school season. I mean, the relationships you have at Atlanta United Club, it's not just something that's stuck into a high school and in a school year calendar. You guys are all a 24/7, 365.
All year round. Yep.
When it came to mentoring and the idea of giving advice, I want to take this in a couple of different stages in your life to where we are right now. And that's the reason I wanted to find out what's going on to start things off. When you were growing up, and this could be off the field growing up or on the field growing up, what was the best piece of advice that you got growing up as a young man? Not necessarily as a young athlete, but as a young man. It could apply to being an athlete, but the best advice you got growing up would have been what?
That's such a hard one.
If it's a multi-part answer, then that's fine too.
I feel like from parental guidance, for me, just to treat others the way that you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. And I think when I was doing the ICA, the intercultural awareness training, I got taught another one that was it's not supposed to be treat everyone the way you want to be treated anymore. It's now treat everyone the way that they want to be treated. So ultimately it comes down to just understanding what the word respect means. I think is a massive one for me. That's a huge one on even for me as an adult, and even for me working with kids, is just the first impression, the type of respect that they give to others is massive. Their listening skills, their and you and I talked about this last time. The maturity part of it is a massive one. And you said something, or I'll say that before I move on to the next thing, I'd say from my mentor, I think just always letting me know to sit down with the oldest people at the table. Whenever I became a professional soccer player, sit down with the old guys. Don't sit down with people who are your same age, because they can teach you, give you words of wisdom, guidance, instruction, kind of how they got that far, things they screwed up in during their career that hopefully you wouldn't make the same mistake. Just learning from experience. And I say this 1,000 times. I don't like the flair players. That's just my personal opinion and to my liking. I like the players that are experienced and play with a lot of wisdom, and just you can tell that those players are going to play for a really long time based on the fact of how they play. And I think that translates to probably off the field as well, probably how they live off the field as well. Is we always say, like, how you are off the field is usually how you are on the field. So that's a big one for me. And you said something that stuck out to me, and I don't see it that way. You said when I give advice, and I don't feel like I give advice.
Okay.
I feel like I plant seeds. I feel like I plant seeds in kids' brains, and it's totally up to them, right? Because I feel like when you give advice, you expect someone to hopefully follow. And for me, I think it's like planting that seed and letting them kind of be resilient and figure it out on their own. That's why I think bonds and relationships within what Mike and I do is extremely special, because you create that brotherhood on both ways, right? And I serve as a big brother for young men and women, right? So it's being a big brother and planting those seeds and helping guide them towards hopefully making their own decisions in the most mature way possible is what I do.
And at the same time, I would imagine it's giving feedback in as much as it is planting seeds, because feedback to me comes across as a two-way street, where if you're planting a seed, you get feedback in return, and then you can take that feedback and then plant the next seed. And so it almost ends up being a staircase when you're trying to have conversation. Yeah.
And sometimes that feedback, and we've spoken about it before, sometimes that feedback is criticism, right? Sometimes that feedback is criticism and helping them understand how to receive criticism, or helping them understand that in the real world, right? It's whether they play soccer for a really long time, or whether they are in a corporate job, or in a entrepreneurship, or trade. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be room for growth. There's always going to be room for improvement, and sometimes that comes with that constructive criticism that you and I have spoken about before.
How long did it take you to get it when it came to receiving criticism, to where you didn't take it personally? Because I know a lot of times when we're younger, someone who could be a peer and they could be meaning well, or it could be one of those old guys that you talk about, they give criticism and you don't want to hear it because, for whatever reason, you're stubborn, and that your way is the right way, even though your level of maturity may not match the rest of the room. The stubbornness keeps you from getting that, from receiving the constructive criticism and applying it forward, and you just think that they're picking at you. How long did it take you and folks that you've interacted with to get that constructive criticism is just that? They're not picking at you.
Yeah, that's for me in particular.
Yeah.
Man, I think there are ways that I understood as a young kid. I think these kids are already being criticized, especially if you're in sport.
Yeah.
There's a lot of constructive criticism that you learn how to handle. Right. And I always, and you and I have used this in the past as well. It all comes down to the H or H, right? Is that criticism helping you, or is it hurting you?
Yeah.
Is a massive one. And that goes for everything. Right? I speak I speak with, motivationally speak with kids and helping them make the right decisions, or the actions that they're going to make. Are those actions or decisions going to help them or hurt them? That's such a good way to kind of look at things. So great example of I use personally for kids is when I was 9, 10, 11, before I moved to Brazil, I had an English coach who dreaded the way that I played, hated the way that I played. I was too small. And I never used my right foot. I never cut inside. I always went to my left. If you're going to make it to the next level, you need to work on your right foot, right? Your right foot is just not good. You need to work on your right foot. You need to do this with your right foot. If you're going to play at the next level, you're going to play on this team, you need to make it. You need to work on your right foot. Mm-hmm. And I always tell kids, I played for almost 13 years. I represented every single age group in the national team, every single age group. I didn't miss one age group. That means I was in the top 18 kids all the way up until I was adult of the whole entire country. Mm-hmm. I played for the national team. I won major trophies. I got to play in the South American Champions League. I've been retired now for 3 years. And guess what? I still don't have a right foot. So it's, in a way, that criticism, it didn't push me to the edge of thinking, well, man, my right foot really sucks. I just thought to myself, I'm just going to make my left so much better than everybody else's right. And so I think it's how you take that criticism. And for me, it was almost a fuel to my fire to just keep working at something that I knew I was so much better at than everybody else, and kind of take that even further. And the cool thing is, you get to grow up, and maybe sometimes you re-encounter those people, and, you just get to kind of thank them. And it's one of the ultimately, I'm sure they're all so proud of you, but I mean, in that moment, that guy, and kids sometimes don't understand those things, right? They feel like sometimes that criticism of a coach really telling them that this isn't going to help their game. Well, sometimes you got to moderate. And we talk about that a lot, that self-regulation. You got to moderate, and you got to be able to change things that are in front of you to help you. And sometimes it can be a selfish decision that you make, but that coach in particular, wherever, even if I would have stayed with that coach my whole entire youth career, probably would have not made it. Right. So you have to sometimes find change and find things that can ultimately help you. And that's I spoke with a girl yesterday, and just helping her understand. It took her a long time, and I just kept telling her over and over. And she has an issue of just self-acceptance. Yeah. And just helping her understand that no matter what, she's the most important person in every room that she is in. That was our whole entire session, of helping her understand that no matter what, she is still the most important person in the room. Right. And sometimes kids, they don't believe that finding that self-belief is really hard. And that's a massive one that we really focus on.
Because at the same time, you get all of these external things that are hammering at you. I mean, it could be someone in your family, could be someone who's a friend, could be someone who calls themselves a friend and they're really not. But you have all of these external factors, coaches, teammates, all these kinds of things that are just pounding on you. And you've still got to find a way to impress upon yourself and remind yourself that I can work through all of these things. I can be better, and I'm the best person. When I walk into the room, I'm the ish. That is how. But I would think that, especially today, with all of the social media and everything that's pounding you from all the different places, that might be one of the most difficult things to do, is to push through and understand that.
Yeah, it's that is probably, even as a dad, that's the hardest thing to say to my own kids, is no matter what happens today, focus on yourself. Yeah. Don't look at others. Don't point fingers. Don't worry about what the score is. Don't worry about how far you go in the tournament. Don't worry about, focus on yourself. no, Dad, you always tell me that. What do you mean focus on yourself? That doesn't mean anything, right? Every kid, I feel, views that the same way, right? No, there's all these things. I can't focus on myself. There's all these things. And so sometimes I think it's really hard for kids these days because of all the external things that are happening around them. They can't focus on themselves. There are so many other things that are going around them that I think is just constantly plugging in information, or they see others doing something, or and man, I wish you could really stamp that into every kid. As selfish as that sounds, but if they focus on themselves, don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Don't worry about their path. Don't worry about the road that they're on. Mike and I speak that a lot to, especially like Atlanta United parents, right? Sometimes it's not even the kids. Sometimes it's more the parents, because they see this kid has just signed a professional contract. They see this kid. Well, my kid's better. I know my kid is better. And that, once again, that main thing right there, focus on yourself, right? I use this a lot, and this is a huge one. And I heard this story, and I don't know if you and I have spoken about it, but it's I love Chinese proverbs, and I always have things that pop up on my Instagram reels about just Chinese proverbs and Asian culture proverbs.
Right.
And it was about a bamboo tree. Have you heard about that one?
No, I've not.
Oh, the bamboo tree is a good one.
Okay.
Bamboo is a good one. So bamboo is used in Asian cultures for almost everything, right? It's such a sturdy and hard foundation object, right? A plant. They use it to build houses. They use it to build buildings, right? And you're talking about a tree that's tall and skinny. How tall do you, I'm going to do this one with you. How tall do you think a bamboo tree can be?
Oh, I've seen stalks be at least 20 feet tall.
So you gave like the average answer of what every kid gives me. Every kid usually gives me like 20 to 30 feet.
Okay.
A bamboo tree can grow up to 150 feet.
Man. Right.
And so we're talking about a bamboo tree that can grow up to 150 feet. And you're talking about an object that is almost unbreakable, right? It can bend. Yeah. It's hollow inside. I don't know how it can bend and withstand hurricanes and not break. Yeah. Because of how deep and rooted its foundation is. Okay. And so I always ask kids, it's like, well, my girlfriend has a piece of bamboo. She has a bamboo, little mini bamboo, and I always use it when I'm here. But I use sometimes I'll use a banana or a pen to represent the bamboo tree. And I always ask them, well, what's a sprout look like? And the sprout, that initial growth of that very first, right, bamboo plant is just popped out under the ground. Well, how long does it take for a bamboo tree to grow? Not to grow, but just to sprout. How long do you think it takes?
Oh, wow. See, you're asking me about horticulture. I'll say 6 months. I have no idea.
6 months. And most kids will say, well, it's just, I'm going to think it's like a flower. It's going to take, 2 weeks. Well, it takes 5 years.
Wow.
Right. 5 years just for that bamboo tree to sprout out under the ground. All right. Now, what must you do? And I tell kids to be the bamboo tree, to be the farmer at the same time. What must you do in order for that bamboo tree to sprout?
I mean, you have to have proper maintenance. You got to keep an eye on it, or does it do it on its own?
No, you have to water it. You have to put it in sunlight every single day. You have to nourish it. You have to take care of it. And I tell kids, just like yourself, you as a player, you must work on yourself. You must put in the effort on yourself every single day. Now, if you miss one day of not watering the bamboo tree within the 5 years, that root won't grow. It'll die. One day. All it takes is one day. And so after it does sprout, let's say you have the patience, and let's say you've put in all the effort and you've put in all this time and you've done all of this stuff, patient effort, 5 years, boom, bamboo tree sprouts. How long does it take to reach its full peak performance or its full peak height?
You tell me, like I said, you're going into a direction I have no idea here.
It takes only 9 weeks.
Okay.
Right. So it took you 5 years to grow that bamboo tree, to put in that time and put in that effort. And if you put in that effort and you are patient with it, it can just explode after, right? After it does sprout. Okay. And so I always tell kids is that sometimes you look over and that kid's bamboo tree, it's already sprouted, right? Sometimes you work really hard and you feel like you're working so hard and nothing's happening, right? And you get so frustrated. Well, imagine that farmer after he's been watering that bamboo tree for 2.5 years. Has he seen any results? And the answer is no. He hasn't seen the soil move.
Yeah.
Still got 2.5 more years.
Say, you're at the halfway point, brother. You just
right. And so I always tell kids, like, look, the most important thing is focusing on yourself, but you just got to continue to water your bamboo tree. And yeah, that's somebody just said in the comments, overnight success, right? It's the famous Messi quote, is that I became an overnight success. Mm-hmm. Took me 17 years and change to become an overnight success. And sometimes kids don't realize that, right? Sometimes kids' parents don't realize that. They think that, well, if this happened to this, then, well, this has got to happen to my kid too. But it's just not, their bamboo tree is just not ready to sprout yet. So I love Chinese culture and Asian culture stories, and they always pop up on them. And I think because my iPhone hears me speak about it, and so I use a lot of them on kids because they really tell a tale, they tell a story, and it helps kids understand, especially the older kids, because I feel like sometimes there's a lot of kids that I work with that work so hard for something, and they feel like they're not there yet. I give them my personal career of making it professional and taking a few years just to see the field or just to kind of get my chance. And we all want everything to happen super fast, right? But that bamboo tree is a good story to use.
Yeah, there are two other individuals along those same lines that I will gravitate toward. Yes, hydration, that is important. Sun Tzu and The Art of War.
Okay.
That is a book I think that everyone should have on their shelves because it doesn't apply just to war. It applies to business. It applies to everyday life. It applies to how you can carry yourself. One of my favorite quotes in The Art of War by Sun Tzu is trust the local guides, for they know the terrain.
I love that.
That does not just apply to combat. That applies to so many different things. That is one that has stayed with me. And you mentioned bamboo, and there is another individual that we lost way too soon back in the 1970s. And here's one of his quotes that has to do with bamboo. Notice that the stiffest tree is most easily cracked, while the bamboo or willow survives by bending with the wind.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I like it.
And so when you mentioned bamboo, that worked in my brain. Where Bruce would mention, be water. To have that kind of ability to go with the wind and go with the breeze and be sure that you can, make sure that you can navigate all these kinds of things. Yeah. I didn't realize we're going to get this philosophical this morning. This is pretty.
I like it. And the thing about that is that there's so many lessons within some of the proverbs that I give. And I always tell them, well, what do you think a proverb means? And they're like, oh, from the Bible. I'm like, no, proverb means lessons and teachings. It is my favorite book in the Bible.
Yeah.
But it means teachings and lessons because you read them and it means something to you, right? So, and sometimes kids will think about the bamboo tree. I'll give them that story and they'll be like, man, it's all about foundation. And I'm like, yeah, I love it, man. Like, well, your foundation, what you're building right now is ultimately going to set you up for the future. And that's why I love speaking to kids who are in that like 15 to 18 range, because who they are right then and there is most likely who they're going to be for the rest of their lives, right? They're really building that they're building that final, stacking those final stones of foundation, right? Final bricks of foundation, laying those final bricks of foundation to like be who they want to be. So it's all about what choices they make and kind of how they continue to grind and put in that work.
But at the same time, you can add to the foundation. You can add rooms. You can add floors. You can build horizontally and vertically to what's going on. I asked you about the best piece of advice that you got, from either family or when you were just growing up.
Yeah.
Ever since you hung up your cleats, what is the best piece of advice that you've been given either by a peer or an adult that's outside of the realm of sports or anything like that? What's the best piece of advice that you've gotten post-athletic career that has helped you forward with everything that you're doing now with Michael and Beyond Goals mentoring and those kinds of things? What's the best piece of advice you've gotten since you've retired?
Arnold Schwarzenegger and his Netflix series that he had.
I have something to tell you, Mr. Garza. You have to listen.
I think I may have used this before with you, but I remember watching that. And I mean, this is now it was probably 2 years post retirement.
Yeah.
But he said something, and he said, and excuse my language, but he said F depression.
Yeah.
Right. Said F depression. Said what we have to do to just always get away from our own thoughts and just sometimes dealing with crappy days is stay busy. Stay busy. As long as you stay busy and you occupy your mind doing something that will keep you busy, you'll be okay. And I love that, man, because my whole day I sleep probably sometimes need more sleep, but it's, 6 to 8 hours, maybe 8 hours max.
Yeah.
And my whole entire day, I'm doing something. There is not a moment in my day to where I feel like I'm always busy. And I feel like it keeps me going, because I think post career, if you do just sit around and you sit on your couch and you're like, holy crap, man, I've just dedicated so many years. And now what the heck am I going to do? Then that's when all those negative thoughts start creeping in, and you're just like, well, life is over, man. But I think if you just finish and you just jump right into something and you stay busy and you just push through it, try and occupy every single minute and hour of your day. I feel like it gives you, it pushes you along. Now, are those moments to kind of, like for me is going to Chattahoochee Coffee Company and getting a coffee and sitting for 20 to 30 minutes and just kind of reflecting and reviewing. Yeah, of course. But then right after that, I'm back doing something else.
Yeah, but you're doing deep thought there. You're analyzing what's going on. Time with yourself, I think, is just as crucial as time with others.
Most definitely. And that's why I think it's, once again, I love what he said, is just stay busy. And, that's a huge one for me. I'm not a person that can sit at home and procrastinate. I have to always be doing something, whether that's cleaning house, whether that's doing laundry, whether that's going to hop on a bike for 10 minutes, whether that's whatever it is, going work out for 15 minutes. I feel like that mind for me is always churning, always in gear.
You'll have to F the pressure, Mr. Garza. That is what you have to do. All right. One question from Bart Keeler before we go.
Yeah.
In light of what Gianni Infantino said, calling for an end to pay-to-play models in the U.S., how feasible do you think that is? And what are some initial steps the U.S. youth soccer structure can take to move toward or free more and make or have made more affordable youth soccer access?
That is absolutely a wonderful question. I'm going to say it is impossible.
Wow.
Right? To do. Not in my generation.
Yeah.
Not in our generation. People have figured it out, the business. And in the United States, it's an opportunistic world. It's an opportunistic country, and they've figured it out. And I don't know if there's any right or left or backwards turn that you can make to make it easier and more accessible. Yeah, I wish we really could, but not in my generation. And I wish I could be an advocate for that, but I just it's out of my hands. I think it's out of all of our hands. That's the pathway. That's the route that I think creates opportunity, and unfortunately that's how it goes. While as well, I will say there are within that world, I have met some absolute fantastic people that do provide a lot of opportunity for underprivileged and underserved communities to help them grow and help them become better human beings, and sometimes have opportunities to take soccer as far as they can. But in regard to completely changing the landscape of youth soccer, it is $1 billion It is $1 billion element, right? There's so much money within youth soccer, from travel to just gear, right? I think both my kids' gear was over $1,000. Just my kids' gear this year. My 6-year-old, his gear was like $550, man, for one season. Like, he's 6 years old, right? I mean, he plays 3 years up, but I mean, he's 6 years old, right? So it's like, dude, what are we doing here, man? Sometimes it kills me inside, because I was sponsored by Nike for 13 years, and it's like, man, I'm spending $550 on a jersey that I know cost them $5 to make.
Slight decimal point, exactly.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's the club environment that you have. I don't. There's no answer to that. It's such a hard one to answer, because it's out of our hands.
Because if you think of the club environment as a cruise ship out on the water, you cannot turn that cruise ship around on a dime. It cannot do a 3-point turn. You cannot hit reverse. It's got to take a long training circle to get back to where you were when you started. Get back to your Friday, get back to your weekend. I know at some point I want to talk ICA in depth and the lessons that you're learning there.
Yeah.
But no, enjoy your weekend, my friend. And thanks as always for coming on and sharing everything that's going on there with Beyond Goals Mentoring.
Who do we have this weekend?
You've got this weekend here. It is DC United and Christian Benteke and his rather large presence.
Okay. How's DC doing?
DC and Atlanta, they're hanging around each other in the Eastern Conference right now, but 7 teams in the East have not won on the road this season at all yet.
Yeah, I know. We got my kid always looks at best soccer app. If everybody who's watching is FOTMOB, best soccer app, FootMob.
Mm-hmm.
My kid always looks at that, looks at team forms, and every time he sees Atlanta, he's like, "Man, we got to be better, Dad." I'm like, I know, we got to be better. So hopefully this weekend can be a turnaround. You got it, brother. Thanks as always. Be safe. See you guys. All right. Greg Garza, Beyond Goals Mentoring. It's always great to catch up with Greg and Cap and find out what's going on. Yes, honesty is good, Kevsey. Honesty is good. Bart agreed. Basically, he's like, I think one of the legit issues is the pure size of the country. Ratio of pro clubs with academies to for-profit youth clubs too skewed to balance out anytime soon, if ever. But yeah, to Greg's point, you get something that's a monolith, you can't just slam on the brakes and sit there and pull the emergency ripcord like you can in the movies with the train and sit there and you pull the ripcord and it's like, oh, everything comes to a stop. Not quite. Doesn't quite work that way. So it would take a long turning radius to get everything back to avoid and the irony of FIFA discussing these kinds of things. I did not miss that either. Ropes thinks it's something that hamstrings U.S. soccer development, missing out on a huge group of athletes. Yeah. And, what we like to do when we do the in-session the in-session matches and conversations with coaches and such is find out about places like Toombs County, find out about places like Vidalia, find out about Towns County, and find out about Atkinson County and all these different places where the sport is growing. Columbus, Columbus, GA, you've got Islands, you've got Aquinas, all these places, all these different elements and all these different ideas, Dalton, the Whitfields, Johnson, Gainesville, all these different places that are outside of the larger markets that you're seeing the game grow. And to be able to share those kinds of stories and share those ideas and be there and see what's going on with folks. Very, very cool that we're able to help share those stories and let everybody know that everybody's path is different, but the game itself is growing, at least on the high school level that we get to talk about in session. So very, very cool stuff there as we go. And as always, it's great to catch up with Greg and Michael and get their thoughts about everything going on with Beyond Goals. But yeah, I do want to catch up with Greg at some point about his the intercultural awareness aspect of things and how it applies to all ages across the board, not just the players that he has conversations with, but how that kind of can trickle down and can work its way. We talk about our foundations and how we build them. Then, it's part of your foundation. You get to build your foundation out and make all of these different expansions to your foundation that you would consider your own foundation. You get to sit there, you get to add rooms, you get to add additions and space, and it could be height, could be width, these kinds of things. So
Once again, thanks to Greg and Cap and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, at BG Mentoring on the Twitters. And once again, great to catch up with them. And the fact that Greg, the globetrotter, Greg Garza, that he is, literally is like, yep, I'll be on a little late. But the fact that he comes on and Michael come on with the regularity that they do to just talk about mentoring as an idea, what they're learning as they're growing, their mentoring aspects of things. Very, very cool. So once again, thanks to Greg for hopping on with us. I'm guessing he was in Chicago. I didn't recognize that. Did not look like his his casa. I think he was in Chicago, but we'll see. All right, hour number 2. It's tracking Jason down, I think, after practice, and hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up with Jason and get to your Atlanta United preview. So we'll get ready for DC United coming up in just a little bit. And Judson Hamby, Oconee County, joining us at 10:30 for a little bit as he's getting ready for an ECNL event. He's won a title as the head coach at Oconee County, and so we'll find out about at Soccer OC, capital O, little c. Sorry, wait, OC. There we go. On the Twitters and find out what it's meant to get a title in Watkinsville. So it's been very, very busy morning. We've got all the news of the day to get into. We've got juice boxes, all that kind of stuff. So let's get into juice boxes and see how much has changed as we get into the weekend previews and all of that. And it's I can't believe it took me forever to realize that when we go to our friends at Odds Portal that they do the home teams. I'm thinking, yeah, Atlanta United, they're the first match that they're talking about. It's because it's alphabetical, genius. All right, so 7:30, Atlanta United, DC United. Atlanta United favored at a -139, DC United in the composite of +316. The draw is even higher than that. Let me know what's on your mind when it comes to Atlanta United and DC United on the Twitch pitch. Obviously, no Steon Gregerson, so it probably is going to be a combination of Luis Abram, Noah Cobb, and we'll see what happens there. But obviously, when you've got a power forward like Christian Benteke, how do you defend against that? And we'll find out and see where Derek Williams is in his return and rehab and his rehabilitation as well. But I'm guessing center backs are going to be some combination of Luis and Noah and Ephra. We'll get more from Jason when he hops back in. CF Montreal and Inter Miami. CF Montreal, they lost their sporting director. The sporting director basically said, peace out, Boy Scout. He's had enough of Joey Saputo. So Messi and friends at a -120, which reminds me, fix your fantasy teams, fix your fantasy teams, fix your fantasy teams. And if you have not joined the Fantasy League, come on in and join. And it's Jason Wright with a W Agency on Facebook, or Jason Wright with a WAGEN on the 280-character app. Come on in and join the Fantasy League. It's fun. Everybody gets to make fun of me and point fingers and laugh, as you should. So join the Fantasy League, be a part of the conversation. Jason Wright Agency on Facebook, Jason Wright with a WAGEN on Twitter. And let me see if we have our help. Do we have our assistants here when it comes to fantasy selections and what to do, or are we still waiting until after the show is over to give the advice? Okay, so no advice yet. So no advice yet this week, but Jason Wright with a WAGEN on Twitter. Fix your fantasy teams this week. I know that, no surprise, I've captained Messi and I've got Luis Suarez going to Montreal. Charlotte and Nashville. Which Nashville are we going to get? Charlotte's at a +110 as Jess is getting ready for her trip north to Charlotte for Nashville SC. Do we get the Nashville SC with the return of Walker Zimmerman, where they've kind of stabilized stuff at the back? Do we get the Sam Surridge that we saw up until last week, or the one that actually scored the hat trick? Which version do we get? Charlotte at home's a +110, draws a +227, and Nashville SC is a +262. It is Red Bulls and New England. Red Bulls at a -175, no real surprise there. Red Bulls, big favorite at home, draws a +311, and the Revs are a +466 in the composite. Philadelphia Union and the purple team. I know that a lot of folks are rooting for mutually assured destruction in this one. The head coach of the team in Philadelphia did mention that he has said that Kevin Sullivan, 14 years old, is closer to getting minutes with the first team than we would anticipate or imagine with a 14-year-old. He says he's that good. So we'll see how that develops with Kevin Sullivan. Union minus 108, Orlando City and the draw, both hovering around plus 270. And it's been a long season for Oscar Pareja so far when it comes to what we've seen out of the purple team. And I know that a lot of folks here in the footprint wishes that to continue, so we'll see. Toronto FC and NYC FC. This one, we get to see if John Herdman's rah-rah gets to continue. We'll see about that. They're a plus 173 at home. Favored they're an underdog at home. NYC, who had problems scoring at home at Citi Field, at a plus 152. And your draws a plus 239. Those are your 730s. Hell is Real is at 745. But before we get into Hell is Real and the rest of it, we get to catch up with this guy. Have you recovered from yesterday yet?
No.
Didn't think so.
I'm tired.
You should be. I mean, how many matches have you called?
5
in the last 7 days.
No, 5 in the last 3 days. It'll be 7 in 5 days by the time I get through Saturday. Going back to last week, what I did Saturday, I did Friday, I did Thursday, I did Tuesday, Monday. I don't know. It's a lot of games.
And but no, it's the fun part of the sprint this time of year, and the matches that were around yesterday. You had, and we're kind of blending in session and the MLS preview because of what's been going on with the GHSA finals. You and Jess yesterday had GAC in Cambridge, which went a while, and McIntosh in Decatur, which went regulation.
Yeah, McIntosh Decatur was one of the weirdest games I've called. There were about 143 fouls in the match. I think about 120 of them were called on McIntosh. It felt like, and I was talking to Jess afterwards, I'm like, I feel like I was saying the same thing over and over again, but how many different ways can you describe a 50 to 70 yard free kick with McIntosh setting their line defensively 20 yards from goal? I mean, it's the same thing over and over and over again, because it was consistent fouls being called in the middle third. And, you know, some of them were smart fouls. Some of them are breaking up transition. Then some of them continue to happen because there were no yellow cards given for persistent infringement. And then you always get some that are like, well, that's not really a foul. That's the foul. Everybody's going to argue about it. It was just one of those nights where the game had very little rhythm. The story to it essentially was McIntosh hopped out and got 2 goals. Decatur had a really good start to the second half. And the whole second half, I mean, Decatur was just piling on the pressure. They finally got a goal. They had one brought back. We thought initially it came off of the soccer goal post. Others said that it came off the football goal post. I'm still not entirely sure. It was very, very close. It was a bang-bang play. But Decatur finally gets a goal, and then it was just throwing everything at the wall, but McIntosh held on to finish their season undefeated.
And GAC in Cambridge, that one went for a while.
Yeah, that was a good game. GAC had a player that I had not seen yet this season, Reese Black, number 10. One of the best players I've seen in Georgia girls high school soccer. And it's one game, and, you know, it might have been the best game that she's ever had. I doubt it, just the way that she played. It was bugging me the whole time to try to find the comparison for her, because she was reminding me really clearly of somebody, and I couldn't quite place it. And, you know, that'll drive you crazy when you're trying to find that perfect comparison. It finally hit me.
2:30 in the morning.
What?
At 2:30 in the morning, it finally triggered.
No, it hit me in the game. Okay. Luckily, it's if you've seen Argentina's women's national team in World Cups in the past few years, or you watch La Liga F, Stefania Banini, small, number 10, very crafty, uses her body very well, even though she's short. 5'2". I'm not sure how tall Reese is, but not tall. But uses her body really well. Like, it's hard to be a short player in that, but also can be physical. And what Reese did so well is she would be able to back into an opponent and almost like bump off of them and go. So talented with it. And she would also do the best way to describe it, and you'll see players do it. Thiago Almada does it. You know, for me, my touchstones are always going to go Argentina. Y'all know that by now. It's not something Messi really does, but it's something that some number 10s do, where I almost like kind of describe it to a basketball sense, where you'll see a good ball handler where they almost like jab at you with a dribble, like to get you off balance. Like they'll step hard and they jab and they bring the ball back. What she'll do, and it's such a cool move, and it's so instinctive because it's really hard to do. She will, balls at her feet, she's right-footed. She'll lift her right foot up and like move her right foot to the right of the ball, or move her right foot over the ball, or move it to the other side and not touch the ball. She'll make a move without touching the ball, and defenders are just, it throws you because it's not typical.
Yeah.
It's really impressive. She's just such a really cool player to watch and get to know in that game. It was a battle back and forth. I felt terrible for Cambridge. They've been so close so many times and still don't have that state championship. Their goalkeeper played really, really well, got hands on 2 of the shots in the penalty shootout. One of them, and it was Black's penalty. It's one of the weirder ones that I've seen because Anna Claire Jacoby, the goalkeeper, dives to the left, gets both hands to it, but the way that it spins back off of her hands, like over her body into the goal, trickling in. There's a lot of spin on the shot, and in the spin coming off of her hands, it was just heartbreaking to see. But GAC was perfect in the shootout again, just like they were against Jefferson, and they go on and win.
Then today at 7A, it's on the girls' side. You lead off with 1 versus 2 in Buford and West Forsyth, and then Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain, which I don't think any of us had in our brackets.
Nobody had the boys' game at all. That was a total shock that you get those 2 in that match, which will be an interesting one because of that. The girls' game's the headliner, though. I mean, you have the 2 best teams in the state on the girls' side, 1, 2, and 7A. They're both undefeated. We saw West Forsyth in the semifinal. Great team. Marley Raymond is a U.S. women's national team youth player. She was in the U16s last time around, actually missed time with her high school team. She'll play as a center back, a little bit of an old school sweeper at times at the high school level, but she's got freedom to get forward and contribute when needed. So that'll be interesting to see. And Buford has developed a really strong program, and they've been undefeated all year long. They were really good last year as well. This is going to be a fun match between the 2 top teams pretty much all year long in girls high school soccer.
5 and 30 minutes after the completion of match number 1 on the NFHS network, it's Jason and Justin. They are going to be doing the 7A matchups, and that'll be the last day of the season when it comes to Georgia high school soccer. It's been fun for us to cover it all across on the SDH network on a very, very busy day and a busy week across the board. Atlanta United, DC United. And obviously the first news I think that we gravitate toward is that there's no Steon Gregerson going to be a part of the Atlanta United lineup this weekend.
Yeah, it's just horrible luck, I think anytime we talk about luck, people will start screaming excuses, but come on, man. When Steon Gregerson has the knee injury and then starts to come back, and you're wanting to get him a good number of minutes on Tuesday, not the whole 90, but a good number of minutes to be able to start him against DC, and then a concussion. There's nothing you can do to prevent that. There's nothing you can do to, make sure that doesn't happen in this moment. It's bad luck for Steon. It's bad luck for the team. And now, the good thing is you've got Noah Cobb in full confidence, and Noah's going to have to deal with Christian Benteke. It's a very different body type than you'd like to have. It probably adjusts your strategy a little bit there, although I'm good with the strategy that would be in place. It should be in place either way, in my opinion. I think, look, Gregerson is 6'5". You're going to be able to win more aerial duels with Benteke with someone who's 6'5" versus someone who's 6 foot. That's just, duh. But you also don't really want to, in my opinion, put your game plan down to winning those aerial duels. They're 50-50s because you can have a inch or 2 on somebody, and you're playing long balls to that person. They're trying to flick it on. It's 50-50s. That's why I don't like teams that play long ball and play to a target forward and just look for deflections, because you can be really good at it, maybe tweak it to 55, 45, maybe 60-40, but it's still a roll of the dice. you don't have any control over what happens in those. You're putting the ball up and you're seeing what happens. What I like in the way that Atlanta's going to deal with this, according to Noah Cobb, and the way he talked about it, is he doesn't want to get in there and just, bang bodies with Benteke. That's not going to suit Noah Cobb. You want to not let Benteke hurt you in those situations. So it's twofold. Slish, Muyamba, midfielders in front. Sometimes those matchups are going to change just depending on placement on the field. But Slish would be the one you would expect because I think he's very good in the air. You want him in front of Benteke. So it's not about like two guys going up and, 1973 English First Division. Nobody wants to see that kind of a game. And I think, if you're Atlanta, you don't want to play that kind of a game. So you want Slish in front of Benteke because then it's a little bit harder to find him. Then if you're the goalkeeper, if you're a center back and you're like, all right, trying to find Christian, oh, he's behind somebody. That's not smart of a ball. Let's do something else. So that's one. Two, you don't want him to bring it down. Like if he's going to go up and win headers 30, 40, 50 yards from goal and just try to flick them on or whatever, you got to deal with the runners. You don't want him to bring the ball down and be able to turn. So Noah doesn't want to be on top of him because then if he wins it, Noah goes up. They don't win. Noah doesn't win. Say he gets knocked over. Then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You don't let him turn. So if he brings it down, okay, cool. You're still 40, 50 yards from goal, back to goal. You're not going to turn and go to goal. What are you going to do now? That's the things you want. Now, the challenge is going to be that part is strategy. That part is how you deal with it. Do not freak out if you don't see Atlanta players go up consistently to go into an aerial duel and have a macho contest with Christian Benteke. That's not how you're going to win these. What you don't want to see is the crosses, because this is the part where it does come down to a little bit of a difference, and that's a challenge. You don't want to allow the crosses into Benteke. You've got to, in those moments where it is that cross in, he's in the 18, he's trying to head on goal. That's where you've got to be careful. And this is where Noah's going to have to use the experience that he's had. He's also, sometimes it's going to be multiple people. It's going to be Slish. It's going to be Abram. But you've got to try to disrupt Benteke in those moments because you're not going to win as many of those duels. But you can't let him head it on goal. So that little bump before the cross comes in, those little things to get in front of him, maybe not let him see it as well. Most importantly, don't let the crosses come in. That's the number one thing to deal with Christian Benteke. But with so much of DC's game plan being just that, Christian Benteke, like that's what you have to worry about. There's other dangerous players running around, and you've got Dahome and Herrera out wide as wingbacks who are very good at getting forward and putting those crosses in. You wish you had Stian Gregerson here, but the bad luck has taken that away. So you've got to be smart in how you deal with it with the personnel that you have.
What about Atlanta United's offense against DC's defense?
Just play your game. Just play your game and go score goals. I mean, I hate to be this simplistic about it, but this team is doing everything right on the attacking side. They're creating chances. They're creating high volume chances. They're creating a large volume of chances. They're creating high value chances. They're creating a variety of chances. They're just not finishing those chances at the level that they need to. That's what it comes down to. It is honestly that simple. And the earlier you can get on the board, the better. And we've seen this consistently at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I feel like I'm back in the McIntosh-Decatur game last night where I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But that's the reality of this. This is not down to writing a diatribe about tactics and this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong. How is the attack wrong when you're creating more expected goals than anybody else in the league right now? How is the attack wrong when since the beginning of last year, you are scoring as many goals as just about every team or more than anybody in the league? The attack is good. The attack is not producing right now. They're not producing goals. It's final product. They're not putting the ball into the back of the net. That's the issue. And that typically, when you have the talented attacking players that you have, that typically does not last long. But you're at a point right now where you need goals. And you need earlier goals, and you need comfort level in getting these goals, especially at home, because here's what happens. We've seen this multiple times in the past few weeks. You don't get a goal in the first half. Defensive team wants to play in a line of five. That line of five just drops deeper. They're comfortable. They're not trying to create a whole lot. They're not trying to risk a whole lot. They're waiting for you to make one mistake, get the other way, get a goal. but they're going to put numbers behind the ball. If you gave DC the option right now to take a draw, they would take the draw and not get on the plane. 100%. So if the game turns into Atlanta United, all the pressure on DC, and they have to sit in their defensive third and just put numbers behind the ball and try to hold on, if they're already take the draw before they get on the plane, they're going to do that. You got to score goals. It's just that simple. How do you do it when you're not getting the production that you need at times? That is the big challenge here. And, I don't think there is some magic switch to flip. I really don't. It's Yorgos Giacomakis being Yorgos Giacomakis. It's creating the dangerous opportunities that we've seen Thiago Almada create and finish. It's getting Sabo Lobjanidze with a ball in the back of the net because he's been so close so many times and has been saved or narrowly missed. It's getting Sean De Silva going. I think we saw some good things from him in the Open Cup run out. Can he start? I don't know. I don't know if he can get 45. That's what you'd like to see. It's just flat out getting goals. It is that simple. I think maybe getting Caleb Wiley and Brooks Lennon more involved in the attack in a variety of ways. Both of them can overlap. Both of them can underlap. Both of them can then pull apart that line of five a little bit more. You just have to get goals. And I keep coming back to it. You have to get goals in the first half because you then change the game. You change the rules of the battle, because if DC is already just looking for that draw, of course they want to win, and Minnesota, same thing. Of course they wanted to win coming in here, but if you gave them the draw to start the day, they're taking it. So the longer they get to play at 0-0, the happier they are, the more confident they are, the more they might send two guys forward instead of that one, those kinds of things. If you're Atlanta United and you get a goal in the first 20 minutes, that changes. Because then to get that draw, they've got to take some risks, right?
Yep.
That's where that back line of 5 maybe turns into a 4 at times and turns into 3 with the wing backs pushing higher. What does that do? It creates more space for you to go the other way. You've got to get goals. And that's just what it comes down to. And I think the biggest thing that this team needs, and look, I am coming off of multiple days of high school action and last week high school semifinals. I'll tell you something that has been evidently clear in those games that, in my opinion, absolutely carries over to Saturday. The effect of the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
The absolute effect of the crowd. When the crowd is giving belief to the players on the field, it translates. I saw Decatur players playing out of their skins last night against a team that hasn't lost all year. A team that is the number 1 team in the country. Decatur was the 4th team in their region. And you look at the pedigree of the players, and they are very different. Decatur played with so much heart last night, trying to find a way. They got a lot of support from their crowd. I thought Westminster as well in their game against Johnson, another heavyweight matchup. You're trying to come back in that. The crowd pushed them. And the girls' game yesterday was the one where I think Jess and I really talked about it a ton, because it was incredible atmosphere with Cambridge and GAC. And what was so impressive, because that game was played at a pretty high pace, so legs are getting heavy, players are getting tired. It wasn't just goals that people got excited about. It wasn't just nice offensive plays. Somebody would come in with a big tackle, and their students and parents and fans would then be roaring loud. Then the other way. And it was back and forth, and the players feed off of that. Yes, even professional players feed off of that. So this is twofold. It's one, you have to give that. If you're in that building and you're wearing an Atlanta United shirt, you have to give that to these players because they need it, because they're going to be pushed to the limit. And two, sometimes when you're trying to flip that momentum and change the vibe and change the feel, going and getting stuck into a tackle. Bruce Arena said this before the games in the 2002 World Cup. It's in the documentary that was done on the U.S. team, and it's something that I loved, and I ripped it off when I coached at times. He would, and I don't remember the exact line, but before the game, like the last thing he would say to the team before they come out of the locker room is something like first pass, first tackle, first goal. And it was always about being first to everything. those big tackles are key in changing momentum. So if the game starts to get difficult on Saturday night, that's where that's where I think Lennon is fully capable of this, and I think he feels this in a good way. Wiley is very good at this as well. Make a big physical play, make a big tackle, change that momentum, and got to find some goals early for Atlanta United. That is the key more than anything against DC on Saturday.
All right, looking forward to it. Judson Hamby coming up from Oconee County. He is in the green room poised to join us to let us know about how Oconee County got a state champ. Broadcast plans for you and Mike.
We are on 6:30 tomorrow. Abe Gordon, Garrett Chapman get you started with the Five Stripes countdown. Mike and I will talk to Garth Lagerway about the midpoint of the show. And then kickoff 7:40. You can listen to us on Apple TV, as always, on the MLS Season Pass. Just change the audio option to Home Team Radio. You can listen on 92.9 The Game. You can listen on the Odyssey app. Full-time report will take you home for an hour afterwards.
Looking forward to it, my friend. Have safe calls, be safe, and we will see you at MBS tomorrow.
Will do. Congrats, Judson.
Yes. And so, yeah, we'll tell you what. Let's do this. There's your. Well, I thought that it's like I saw him. I saw him, and I like.
Good job, John. You are an outstanding producer.
Always, my friend. So, do you want to hang until Judson joins back in?
Yeah, I can hang for a second.
Okay, figure we might have a crossover event here. You know, the Law and Order, SVU organized crime mothership crossover.
I only have 3 games in the next 2 days to prepare for. That's all.
To tease in session, by the way, it is. We've got Ray Torres from Columbus coming on at noon, and it looks like Jason Galt from West Forsyth is going to be joining us at some point as well. So it'll be a stacked show for all of that stuff. So I'm gonna email Judson and go, Judson, come back in. Judson, you were there. So we'll see what happens with Judson Hamby. I will filibuster. It was a great idea that we had, and I messed it up, I'm sure.
Okay, I see that. I guess what I said about the fans being loud and cheering the team on seemed to, tweak a couple people. Okay, then I'm sorry for saying that. I don't know why that would be offensive to people, because you guys do not understand the effect you have in the game. You really don't. You need to. It's real. That's a credit to the fan base. That's a credit to any fan base. But yes, teams need their fans to support them. I'll give you the flip side. If you want to play that game, I'll give you the flip side. Johnson of Gainesville, their fans, because it's a long drive and they were down 2-0 in the last 6-7 minutes, their fans started to leave. If you're a player and you look up and you see people leaving in those moments, do you think that gives you motivation? Yes, your paycheck gives you motivation. We all know this, but that doesn't help. So this is not saying that the fans are not making enough noise. It's not saying any of that.
Yeah.
It's saying you have power and use it, and you can help your team that you're there to support. You really do have power. That is real. That's not just PR BS. It's real. I've seen it firsthand, whether we're talking pro or whether we're talking these high school games. I'm sure Judson can talk about it.
Yep. So let's talk about it. I'm adding Judson to the stage. And Coach, you got your ears on. Can you hear us?
I think the connection for Judson is not ideal.
I think because he is in an automobile, and I can see a still of his of him inside said automobile, and so so it might be a little. Yeah, I think we're trying to figure out how to get Judson in here. Okay, so go ahead and go get to study, and I'll get you the transcript of Jason Galt, and you can have that for your study time later today.
Yep, go make some noise, y'all, and have fun. Whatever y'all want to do to have fun, but make some noise. The players absolutely do appreciate it. Every time I talk to them about those sorts of things, it is very genuine. They appreciate it, and they feel it. And, yeah, they need it. So that's part of all of this. So if you feel so inclined, give them that support, because it absolutely does have an effect.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Adios.
All right. And to Jason's point, after Saba scored to make it 2-1, I give the 17s a boatload of credit, because Saba scores, building's out of its mind. Actually, maybe the last 30 minutes, you guys were out of your mind. And it was great. To know that building has that kind of energy, it's really cool. It is not a criticism. It is not a criticism at all. It is in no way is it criticizing the fans, but you do make a difference. If you want to call it a reminder, call it a reminder. When you see the team pushing as much as they do, and you hit a crossbar, you have an early chance. You guys, you're right there with them the entire time. When they need that goal, when they need that equalizer, when they need the 2, those kinds of things, when they, when they have those, when they have those opportunities, you guys can be that extra lift. You can be that extra lift, and you are that extra lift. So, like I said, when Saba scored to make it 2-1, the remaining 10 plus however many minutes were decided. From the guy holding up the board, that made a big. It was cool to see. All right, so here we go. Let's see if we can get Judson in here. There he is.
Hey,
we made it. All right. Judson Hamby hanging out with us. He's getting ready for an ECNL activity, and I'm hoping that we can keep him dry for about 10 minutes or so. Congratulations.
Absolutely.
How does it feel?
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure.
You are okay.
All right. Sorry, I'm doing an interview from my car. It's exciting times. Super excited. Capped off an unbelievable year. I took a day off, and now I'm back in Greenville doing ECNL games. So,
how in Greenville?
Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina. There is a big, massive showcase here with a bunch of younger youth teams. So we've kicked off already this morning and here for the next 3 days. So.
How does it feel to be a state champ? What was it like there for that last match of the year?
Yeah, first off, to get there is obviously a huge blessing and some great games to get to that point. Going into the game, we thought Wesleyan would be an outstanding opponent. We knew we had to play our best game, and I felt like we had an outstanding game, outstanding performance, and I think had to defensively play outstanding. And as the game got late, and they tried to throw a bunch of stuff at us, but the team has been resilient all year, and just proud of them. We only gave up 1 goal in 5 games, so that's an impressive result.
When you were getting ready for Wesleyan has put up some staggering offensive numbers this season. We had them for a match against Calhoun on the network. What was it like knowing that they were going to be coming at you from every possible angle offensively to try to score on you?
Yeah, you have just communicated everything that was our worst nightmare for about 4 days. So as we prepared for that, obviously they were an outstanding attacking team. They had so many players that whether they attack from the wing, attack from the midfield, attack from the outside. And, we made some tweaks and things that we prepared for that we felt like we could squeeze them at the right moments and kind of got some play and got moments in it, especially in the first half. They scored a good goal after we scored, and second half made some adjustments off of it. And I think literally we just tried to limit as much rhythm as possible from them, because they're a very good rhythm team, very good passers of the ball. And they're 9 and they're 10 and they're 8 were outstanding players that just moved us around a lot. And I think from that, we just were a very disciplined group, and I think when we got the second goal, we were able to kind of dictate our terms because we knew they were going to send numbers. And so I think with it, we did a good job absorbing that. So.
What was the conversation like at the half, knowing that you had navigated the first 45 and had another 45? What were the
Yeah, well, at halftime, I was pulling my hair out because, the plan going into the first half was when we won certain key moments, we missed some key opportunities that we should have punished them on, and had some missed decisions and moments that we felt like we could have got them more in the first half. And credit to them, they responded brilliant and scored a good goal to tie it. But I think off of that, it was just about settle down and continue to do the things that we had worked on for all week for. And I think they did a good job doing that. So.
Judson Hamby, head coach of Oconee County, they are state champs, and we are catching up with him in his car in Greenville, South Carolina, because he's very, very busy, having taken the trip to Watkinsville to go to an ECNL event, and hanging out with us here is a bit of an in-session live, a bit of a preview presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente for all. That is you at KP Georgia on social media. What's the feedback been like? Has your phone been blowing up from folks like me? What's the response been like there from the Oconee County community now that a state champ is now in Watkinsville?
Yeah, I mean, I think the community's been awesome communicating that, and they showed up big time in the game, and that was a huge crowd for us, and I think it helped us in the game, especially as the game got late. And I think just, overall, I think just, a lot of the community, former players, former coaches that have come through there, just excited about the history and making new history, and, to be in Oconee County and have two teams make the finals in North Oconee and Oconee is a proud moment for the city for sure, in the county. And but I think overall, I think to make history and go back to back the way they've done it the last 2 years, and it's really hard when when the target's on your back, and I think the team did a brilliant job of responding to all the spotlight on them a lot this year. So proud of them for that.
I was going to ask, how difficult is it to navigate with that spotlight being what it is?
It really is. I mean, I think, you're always going to get everybody's best shot, and they want to take down the champs. And I think, I've said this before, that last year was last year and this year is this year. And you have to make new teams and new cultures and new habits and new lineups. And I think from that, I think they just did a great job of growing up early. And we threw a lot of young kids that grew up early. And I think with it, it's just been bringing, that the seniors just did a good job of using their experience to kind of bleed that culture. And that's been huge for us and helping, kind of finish the job. So that was, proud moments as a coach, proud moments as a senior class for them to go out the way they did and finish the job. So, yeah.
So what are you doing for an encore? I know that's literally.
We shall see.
Exactly. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for hopping into your car in Greenville, South Carolina, and letting us see what's going on. I don't know how much sleep you've gotten. I hope you have unlimited talk and text on your phone. Congratulations on being a state champ up there at Oconee County. Be safe, and thanks for hanging out with us here on the morning show. And be good, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do.
All right. That is Coach Hamby and Judson Hamby, the head coach at Oconee County. He's at an ECNL event in Greenville, South Carolina. So he hops in his car and he gets to hang out with us a little bit. Okay. So at noon, Ray Torres from Columbus is going to join us to talk about their state championship. Jason Galt, the head coach for West Forsyth's girls, are going to be on. at somewhere in the show. The pregame meal's at 1 o'clock. So I know somewhere after 12:15 and before 1 o'clock, Jason Galt's going to come on and break everything down from a West Forsyth point of view as they get ready for Buford. So Jason and Justin Hanover are going to have the games at Duluth at 5 and 7:30. And that's tonight. It's going to be Buford, West Forsyth, Campbell, and Kennesaw Mountain. And if you had Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain in your bracket on the boys, I want to hang out with you in March. So it's going to be fun. The last day of the GHSA championships, and it's going to be our last live Soccer is in Session presented by KP Georgia and Kaiser Permanente for all that is you when it comes to being great partners with us here at SDH, putting a bow on the high school season. And tonight we transfer over to NPSL. Jarrett's going to be at Silverbacks Park for Apotheos and their home opener. That's at 7 o'clock. So if you are not going to be at Duluth, you could be at Silverbacks Park catching Apotheos, or you could just kind of take it easy and get ready for Atlanta and DC United tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening and be there tomorrow afternoon. I don't know about the roof yet. It's supposed to be in the 70s, but get into the 50s by the time the day is done. Might be an opportunity for the roof to be turned, the knob to be turned and be available to have an open roof. Like I said, I have no idea if it's going to be open or not. So we'll see what's up with what's up with the roof and if it gets twisted and opened on Saturday night as DC United comes to town. So I know that you guys have been discussing fan impact and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I will just say this from my own personal recollections and what I've been able to see. I admit that I'm indoors. I am locked in a studio space for the first 45 minutes, but I do hear you through the walls. Do not intimate under any circumstance, that you're not being a good fan. Don't intimate that at all. That is not the thought pattern at all. But you do make an impact from minute 1 to minute 90 plus whatever. And as I said, just to give you the current example, like I said, when Saba scored with 10 to go, I couldn't hear myself think over really the last 30 minutes. It really as Atlanta United was chasing the goal. So, like I said, you do make an impact. Don't ever doubt that. And you make an impact starting at minute 1, and it goes all the way until minute 90 plus whatever. Now that we get to see what the clock actually says, don't ever doubt that you, for a double negative that's going to drive my mom crazy, don't ever doubt that you don't make an impact. So, maybe it's pacing. Maybe you have as Emilio says, after, fans get tired too. Yeah, I know it is a full day. Fans get tired. Announcers are, up at a high level of being completely and totally jacked up. The energy in the building, it carries and it rubs off. I see somebody to my right. If I'm a fan, I see somebody to my right who's behind the club. I'm going to get behind the club. That's just, it rubs off. It was not meant. Don't ever take it that you're not good fans. That's not where this was going at all. So, there you go. So, like I said, don't misinterpret that stuff. But, your impact is there. It is felt. It is sensed. And the players know it from minute number 1 all the way through. So there we go. I hope that that's just me. Like I said, that's what I'm saying. And I know that Four Card says it's discouraging when the players aren't showing that urgency. And like I said, Gonzalo Pineda has talked about it coming out at the half, especially after the last match. That you wanted to have, that you wanted them to be on from the minute, and then you have the goal getting scored, and then you're having to fight back. So, like I said, I know that, and I know that we have the discussions about making sure that you're engaged or what have you. And I know that we have those discussions too. So, I have, and thank you for reporting the bot, everybody. And so I went and jumped on there. But Emilio, crowds get exhausted. Also, yeah, I know. Trust me, I've been there. But I know, Michael, you said that the MBS seems reluctant to open the roof. I think that also plays into what the fans are. You guys are loud. That's why they had the Bernabeu closed in Champions League, because when that roof is closed, you don't have the drain for the noise. And so I think that legitimately, if the roof is closed, once again, you guys know how loud it gets in these kinds of situations. You guys know how loud it gets because you're there and you're a part of it. So when that roof is closed, everything just kind of careens all over the place. And it does give you that rock concert kind of a vibe to it. And, if it's closed, don't be surprised, because like I said, you guys get loud. It literally just crashes down on every piece of action. As you get to see my bald spot, as it crashes down on every piece of action that's going on down there. Like I said, you talk about you guys making an impact from minute 1 to minute 90. Roof's closed, all that noise stays. The roof's open, it has a chance for that noise to go out. So, but yeah, and absolutely no wind. So, so don't be surprised if the roof is still closed because of the noise that you guys make. So, and Kefsey also with field mics. Field mics, you can kind of turn those up a little bit too. And Kefsey, I don't know that there are times, and we can talk to Michael and Greg about this. Kefsey says, open roof does make it hard for us to be heard by each other. On the field, they still hear. No, they really don't. When you guys are loud, they've got to find ways to communicate with each other, and they could be, 15 feet apart, and they still have to find ways to communicate. That's because of what you guys do. Yeah. So like I said, field mics, you can, as a TV truck, impact, you can turn them up and down. That's just how that goes. All right. So, Michael says it's not what it used to be. Emilio says it was the perfect storm back in 17 and 19. Michael loved the roof being open. Unfortunate designers didn't spend a couple more million to make it the windows louvered. But yeah, I mean, it can be a distinct advantage having the roof closed. And you guys know that it can be an absolute advantage with the roof closed. But, so there we go. So, I mean, I didn't necessarily want to go down the road of what we just went down, but no, you guys do make an impact. And I don't know if, I don't think it hurts to be reminded of that fact, just so you guys don't think that what you are doing is not, man, my mom's going to be mad at me. Don't think that what you're doing out there is in vain. So when the team is, when the team is in a fight, you can help and push them over. You can be that extra edge and be there to perhaps get an opposing player off of their game. So just, like I said, it's I guess a reminder. Just be the fans you are. Just be the fans you are, and just continue to be there to support the team, because you do provide that extra boost. Whether you may know it in the moment or not, starting from minute 1. And I know that there is a certain amount of anticipation of action. You're kind of, you're waiting for that moment for a score before, everything continues. But no, you're there from moment 1. And sometimes just, the reminder that you do make an impact. I guess that's it. Okay. Where were we? It was juice boxes with about 10 minutes to go. Hell is real. Getting back into stuff with Major League Soccer. Atlanta United basically still about in and around the minus 137. Hell is Real's at 745. I think that's a game that's on FS1. Crew and FC Cincinnati. Crew's favored at a minus 122, understandably so. Copa Tejas FC Dallas is favored at home against Austin. I would take the draw. It's plus 247. Dallas is a plus 106. Sporting and Houston. Sporting's a plus 102. All Caps in Chicago. That should be a rivalry. I mean, geographically, it already is in other sports. Cubs, Cardinals, and such. All Caps are a minus 147 at home against Chicago. Colorado and San Jose, old school. Colorado's a minus 125. LAFC is a minus 156 hosting Vancouver. Then Nico liked the draw to plus 323. Galaxy and RSL's late night at a minus 102. Only at a minus 102 after RSL didn't have their first teamers, a lot of their first teamers out there in the midweek. Goals scored by Barajas and Diego Luna. Galaxy's a minus 102, and the draw and RSL to win are basically hovering around plus 260. Cascadia is Sunday at 445. Portland hosting Seattle. Seattle favored on the road at a plus 150. And we do have midweek madness where Atlanta will be heading to Cincinnati in the midweek after what happens today. So you've got all of that activity. As I scan down, you've got USL Championship. Blow through those pretty quickly tonight. Loudoun favored at home against El Paso Locomotive at a minus 104. Tomorrow, Detroit City favored after beating Houston. Phoenix Rising staying on the road at a plus 187. I don't know if Detroit City was going to have any kind of legs for it, so I would the draw is a plus 221. Hartford Athletic favored at home against Colorado Springs. Lou City on the minus side hosting Orange County. Sorry, O&B. Rhode Island is an underdog at home to Sacramento. Sacramento's a minus 105. Jack Panayotu from Revs 2 is signed on loan by Rhode Island FC. Tampa Bay, who is in one of the craziest games of Open Cup in recent memory against Birmingham Legion at Al Lang, gets to play Birmingham Legion at Al Lang on a quick turn. Tampa Bay's a minus 159 in this go-round. Birmingham's a plus 365. Tulsa, underdog at home at a plus 187 after beating Pittsburgh in Open Cup. Pittsburgh now has to travel to Tulsa. Hopefully the two teams didn't get on the same plane. Pittsburgh's a plus 134. San Antonio, minus 217, is a big favorite at home as Vegas comes to town at a plus 500, basically. New Mexico, after winning in Open Cup in the midweek, a minus 143, hosting Oakland Roots, who lost 1-0 in Open Cup to San Jose at a plus 332. Monterey Bay, plus 123, hosting Memphis 901, who's basically a plus 200. And on Sunday, the one match, the Miami FC is an underdog at home as Indy 11 comes to town at a plus 123. MLS Next Pro, let's see if there's anything going on there. Messi and Friends 2 hosting Chattanooga FC. Chattanooga FC, big favorite on the road at a minus 118. Hunt City is the plus 125 hosting Toronto FC 2. And then you have T2 hosting Tacoma. So you have Cascadia. You have the not so quite, you have, I guess, the Saplings version of Cascadia. Tacoma Defiance is a plus 106, going to Portland to take on T2 at a plus 195. You've got the Jägermeister Cup this weekend, and it is competition. Charlotte favored at home against Forward Madison. One Knox favored at home on the plus side, hosting Northern Colorado. Greenville in the Peach States Derby. Tormenta at a plus 223 on the road going to Greenville. Lexington a minus 127 hosting Central Valley. Chattanooga hosting Richmond at a plus 129. Spokane and Union Omaha. Union Omaha is a minus 115 going to Spokane. Velocity or a plus 263. Also on the board, it is a couple of pieces of news. It looks like Graham Potter has turned down the idea of going to Ajax, and so that's not going to happen. Really cool thing that came across the wires, the U.S. women's deaf national team. And like I said, this is really cool. The women's deaf national team is going to face Australia in the opening game of a doubleheader with the women's national team June 1st at Dick's Sporting Goods Park in Commerce City, Colorado. It is going to be on television, 2 p.m. Eastern, True TV and Max, before the matchup against Korea Republic at 5. So really cool that the women's deaf national team is going to be part of a historic doubleheader with the women's national team. Quote from Deaf WNT head coach Amy Griffin. Know all the players are excited to participate in the unique event. legacy of international success. The doubleheader in the broadcast makes a huge step forward for the extended national teams program and will magnify what success looks like when more opportunities and access are provided to everyone. So that's going to be on. That's going to be very, very cool. Very, very cool with all of that stuff. Let me see what other gossip, rumor, and innuendo is out there as well when it comes to let me see, players and stuff, and then what to watch, where to watch it, all that kind of stuff. Let's see. So player gossip heading into the weekend, and we've also got Chelsea's going to hold a review on Mauricio Pochettino's future at the end of the season after the last match of the year against Bournemouth, where they decide his future. Arsenal looking at Wojciech Szczesny and Jason Steele and Deont Ramage from Ajax as they look for a replacement for Aaron Ramsdale, who's expected to leave. They're also looking at kicking the tires on Jordan Pickford, targeting the signing of a defender, midfielder, and a forward. So one of each for Mikel Arteta. Prepared to sell Eddie Nketiah if they can sign a new forward. We mentioned Graham Potter turning down Ajax, West Ham, Julian Lopetegui considering Sevilla for Yusuf and Nesri and Marcos Acuna, 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Manchester United's Nikita Paris turned down a lucrative move. I think it was 7 figures to move to the North Carolina Courage in April as she wanted to play in the Women's FA Cup final against Spurs. Bayern Munich have been discussing appointing Hansi Flick as their new manager, open to return to his former post to replace Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel said, you know what, if Manchester United's interested in me, I'd listen. Well, yeah. Manchester City and the Brazil defender Jan Couto, who's on loan at Girona, attracting interest from Bayer Leverkusen, Juve, and Premier League clubs. Eintracht Frankfurt want 50 to 60 million euro for Ecuadorian defender Willian Pacho, who's been linked with Liverpool. Farhad Moshiri looks like he might pull the plug on the takeover deal with 777 by the end of the week. And it looks like 2 Everton supporters who have already fronted about $200 million to help out with managing debt and losses might be interested in it, in picking up the mantle and being the new owners as well. MSP Sports Capital, who showed interest in buying Spurs last year, they might be waiting in the wings considering they've invested close to $1 billion so far as well. Newcastle have held talks with Crystal Palace's Dougie Friedman and Johannes Spors, who's the global sporting director at 777, about their sporting director role. Clubs across the world are mad at 777. Newcastle wants to talk to Johannes Spors. Manchester United interested in signing Atletico Madrid left back Reinildo, facing competition from Villa. And that is also at the 3-letter paper. Manchester City have agreed to the deal. We talked about Kevin Sullivan as well. So what to watch, where to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo there. Go to our friends at Soccer America and see what's going on with activity today as we get you ready for the weekend. And I see the other bot, so we'll take care of that one coming up in just a little bit. BN and BN in Espanol are simulcasting Liga 1 at 3 o'clock. If you don't have BN for the fans, Nuestra Tele, Gold TV, all those kinds of things, you can go to Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, and you can catch up that way and become a complete and total degenerate. Liga 1 Max is also on there as well. Libertadores, Sudamericana, all the things. You could pick it up at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. ESPN Deportes has La Liga, Alaves and Girona at 3. Fox Deportes has Serie B, Sud Tirol and Palermo at 2:30. English League 2 playoffs, Doncaster and Crew Alexandras at 3. Bundesliga, Augsburg and Stuttgart is at 3:20. Loud and El Paso is at 7 o'clock on the ESPN Plus as well. Prime Video has their Friday Night Football, Lou City and Washington Spirit. Paramount Plus, Serie A, 2:45 Frosinone and Inter Milan. And so that is what carries on the television today. So once again, reminder, noon, the last Soccer's in Session Live presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente, Ray Torres from Columbus, Jason Galt from West Forsyth, and you as we get you ready for the last day of the season for Soccer's in Session Live presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente for all that is you at KP Georgia on the Twitters. So thanks to Greg Garza, thanks to Judson Hamby, thanks to Jason, and thanks to you for dropping by for yet another week of SDH. Then once again, looking forward to seeing everybody as we will see what's going on with Atlanta United and DC United on Saturday. So really looking forward to seeing that. big matchup for Atlanta United too, for Atlanta United, TOO, as DC United comes to town in the Eastern Conference, where we know that the Eastern Conference is going to be tight all season long. So looking forward to seeing everybody there. Looking forward to seeing what's going on at Mercedes-Benz and catching up with each and every one of you on a very, very busy weekend. Apotheos tonight, 7 o'clock at Silverbacks Park as well. So for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Since it is the end of the show, that means we get to do one thing and one thing only. Back in almost an hour for Soccer's in Session Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. We'll see you in just a little bit. Mucha plata, y'all.